Have you ever been part of an online community, a place that felt really important, and then suddenly, it just vanished? Well, for hundreds of thousands of people in the environmental movement, that's pretty much what happened on one of the biggest social media platforms in the world. And the first clue that something was seriously wrong was one single, shocking number.
Here it is, 47.5%. Let that sink in for a second. That's nearly half. Half of what, you ask?
Well, that's the percentage of a huge group of environmentally focused accounts on Twitter. We're talking 380,000 of them that just stopped posting. They went silent or just left altogether. And this wasn't some slow fade. It was like a light switch being flipped off. So what on earth could cause that many people to pack up and leave so fast? And what does it mean when a community that vital just collapses?
To really get why this is such a big deal, you have to understand what Twitter was for these folks. It wasn't just another app for scrolling through memes. No, for the environmental community, it was the essential digital town square.
I mean, this was the place where everything happened. It's where scientists would drop their latest findings, where nonprofits and government agencies would get out critical, time-sensitive information, and where activists would rally public support for everything from protecting a species to pushing for major climate action. Honestly, there was no other place like it.
And then, everything changed. The platform sale in 2022 wasn't just some business deal that happened in a boardroom. It fundamentally transformed the space itself, and it happened practically overnight.
The timeline here is just wild. The deal gets accepted in April, it's finalized by the end of October, and by November, I mean literally just days later, people were already reporting a massive exodus of users from the platform.
And you could feel the changes right away. Content moderation policies were totally overhauled, which researchers say led to a huge spike in hate speech. At the same time, access to the platform's data, which was crucial for researchers, was severely restricted. On top of all that, the site just became glitchy. Outages and other technical issues made it unreliable for a lot of people.
So you've got all this chaos. Researchers knew something big was happening, but they needed to prove it. They needed to measure the impact on the environmental community specifically. And to do that, they had to answer one really important question.
Right, this is the key. How do you know this wasn't just a platform-wide thing? You might be thinking, hey, maybe everybody was just getting fed up with Twitter. It's a fair point. To prove this community was uniquely affected, they needed something to compare it to. They needed a control group.
And this is exactly what the researchers did. It was actually pretty clever. They created two massive groups of users. The first was our study group, Environmental Twitter, made up of 380,000 users talking about things like climate change. And the second, their control group, was Politics Twitter, an even bigger group that discussed the 2020 US election.
So why politics? Well, because it's one of the biggest, most mainstream topics on the entire platform. This group was their baseline, their measuring stick for what was happening to the average active Twitter user. The theory was, if environmental Twitter declined faster than this group, it would prove something special was going on.
And, oh boy, when they put the data from the two groups side by side, it revealed a huge split.
Just look at this graph. It tells the whole story. The green line is environmental Twitter. The black line is politics Twitter. You can see they're both kind of slowly declining before the takeover, but then look at what happens right after that second vertical line, when the sale is finalized. The green line just absolutely tanks.
So yeah, both groups saw more people leave after the sale, but the exodus from environmental Twitter was just dramatically faster and much, much deeper. By April of 2023, nearly half of that entire group had just gone inactive. Poof.
The hard numbers are even more stark. Just look at the rate of decline after the takeover. Yeah, the rate for politics Twitter increased, for sure. But for environmental Twitter, the rate of decline jumped by more than 5 times. That is a massive acceleration.
Here it is in a simple bar chart. It makes it really clear. The decline for environmental Twitter was over 50% faster than for the politics group. This wasn't just a feeling. The data proved this was a unique, significant event for this community.
Okay, so you might be thinking, people left an app. Who cares? But this isn't just about numbers on a chart. This digital migration has some pretty profound real-world consequences.
You know, the researchers themselves didn't pull any punches. They actually called this an existential threat to the way the environmental movement shares information and organizes itself. That's incredibly strong language.
And when you break it down, it makes sense. It means losing a vital tool for rallying public support on climate action. It means it's harder for scientists to get a pulse on public opinion. And here's a really scary part.
As all of these trusted, expert voices leave, it creates a vacuum. And that vacuum can get filled by a rising tide of climate misinformation and disinformation. So that brings us to the big, looming question. What happens now? What do you do when your digital town square basically gets bulldozed overnight? Well, you start looking for a new one.
The problem is, people are scattering everywhere. Some are trying out Mastodon, some are on Threads, others are somewhere else entirely. There's no single obvious replacement. So the huge challenge now is trying to rebuild those crucial community connections across a digital world that's suddenly way more broken up and fractured.
And that leaves us with this final, really important question to think about. I mean, this whole explainer was about the environmental community, but the lesson here is for everyone. When a central hub for public debate can be so completely changed so quickly by just one person, it really forces us to ask, where do our most important conversations go to survive? And can they ever be as powerful when they're scattered to the winds?